welcome to Community Conversations. My name is Nancy Haase, Deputy First Selectman here in Simsbury, and our first program for 2014, so Happy New Year to everyone. We were last here in December for our final 2013 program, and I'm joined with Sean Askham, Selectman Sean Askham, Cheryl Cook, and Mike Paine. And Mike, this is actually your first official, you've been a guest here.
Yes, I've been a guest. This is fun. No,
and last month you were, work obligations. I know we all kind of struggle with that as we balance our evening and daytime
stuff.
Yeah.
It's exciting because it's the first time all four of us are here together as selectmen in the town, so that's
Yeah,
nice.
that's
So
right.
congratulations to both of you for being elected.
Back
to
at
all of
everybody else.
Yeah.
So.
I think the fearsome foursome or whatever you want to call
I'm
that's
sure
right.
there's lots of
I'm
good
sure
names
there's
for us.
names out there. I'm not sure you want to know.
That's one I've heard.
But needless to say, we had a very enjoyable time throughout the election. We talked about that last program, and we've already been pretty busy starting out. And then, Cheryl, we were at the Legislative Office Building.
We
just,
were.
last week. So
That was great. Last Thursday, you and I had the opportunity to attend the State Bond Commission hearing, and at that hearing, they decided that Simsbury would get $204,000 for the senior center study and assessment, which will go a long way to moving ahead the process for developing a site and a plan for the new senior center.
Right. So we had, Sean, our last budget process, we approved the town bonding that money, but the state was willing to give us that, so we said sure.
Yep.
So the taxpayers are paying for it one way or another.
They are.
Now
That's
we're sharing
true.
it with the rest of the taxpayers in the state of Connecticut.
Yes.
So.
That's true, but that money will go a long way in the planning process and hopefully move us toward some design and.
Yes, I know there's multiple sites that they had looked at, and we can talk a little bit later, I guess, about the budget process. But of course, it's important to have that. The more information we have about the project, the more we can understand the dollars that are needed behind it, the better we can plan. And I know that's been on the capital plan. And yet, of course, the concern over the Hartford leaving town has really sort of opened our eyes more to what's ahead in terms of the budget process. So.
Well, now that I am the Selectman liaison to the Aging and Disabilities Commission, we will be having our first meeting on January 28th, and hopefully we'll have a chance to discuss all this with the commission members, and I know they're looking forward to hearing all the news on the senior center. So
yeah, I was unable to go to the public building meeting, but they've already been discussing it as well. So I know it's on everybody's radar.
agenda.
Yeah. So, and you're going back down to the LOB. I understand that there's
I
another,
am.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Thank you. I have an opportunity to go speak at the. They're having a family day for families of persons with intellectual disabilities. And there'll be 20 state legislators there, and this opportunity was given to me by the Fragile X Association. They're looking for families to come in and talk about their experience with state services and the whole process. So I'm hoping I get to speak. I'm sure there will be a lot of families there, and everybody has a worthwhile story to tell. And but I'm looking forward to going and participating in that process, because I think the more information that families have available to them, the smoother the services will flow, and it's better for everybody.
Yeah, great. Well, we look forward to you coming back and sharing more information with folks about that. And Mike, we were out on rainy Saturday.
Yes.
I've gone from minus to 50 degrees.
Yeah.
It's been crazy weather lately. But we were made aware of Chris Murphy coming to town.
Yep.
And so we went out on Saturday, and I thought it was a worthwhile morning.
Actually, I was really pleased, to be there, and there were people literally from all the way over from Cornwall.
Yeah.
Some of the towns, I can't remember some of the towns.
Southbury.
And some of that. Heartlands and a number of different people from the town.
Yeah.
The topic was initially about land conservation, but it ended up kind of morphing, if you will, into how the House and the Senate worked down in Washington, but also how the wild and scenic for the Farmington designation works, which I found very intriguing. Obviously, the Farmington River watershed was there.
Yeah.
It was an interesting, very quick hour
Right.
discussion. And then people ended up staying around for, I think I left after half an hour or so
Yeah.
after that. And there was still good discussion going. And it's just interesting. I never was involved in any of that, those discussions and how the designation happened, and was surprised to hear that it had taken over 7 years
Right.
for the Farmington River to get the threshold they were at now.
Right.
And
Well, they
there
were talking about Nancy Johnson and, you know,
She
all,
started it, right?
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
Right.
she
so-
started it and actually came back to actually help people and connect some of the dots, which
Well, we
was
should
very
clarify
nice.
that, though. She was the congressional individual that started it. I believe some more local folks have been
Correct.
pressing the Riegers, I believe.
Yeah, and
Yes.
Sally and Don were
Yeah,
there.
we were both there.
We should
Chuck Howard
make sure
was
that
there.
they get the credit, because I believe
Absolutely.
they've really been
Yes.
shepherding the process.
Yeah,
And-
they have, Chuck Howard was there.
Chuck Howard, Dick
the-
Davis.
Dick Davis from the
Yeah,
Land Trust, Simsbury Land Trust. And it was interesting, some of the discussion after that was from the different towns, how the different land trusts have worked, and obviously, like any group, they kind of take on their own personality. And to hear people talk about it was I found it very kind of invigorating and fun to have that discussion. On the outside, you just read the articles that come out, and this actually gave you some ideas behind the different bills and how things work, and
And the appropriations,
Yes,
which is
yeah,
really
well.
the part
Right.
that's where the money comes out, and that's
Yeah.
what some of the discussion was about,
Yeah.
specifically to the Wild and Scenic, in that the program, it was hoped that the designation would follow by some funding.
Yeah.
And I think that, you know, there's a picture being painted right now that that's not necessarily going to be
May
the
not
case
happen.
right now. But it's great we have the designation, and that is thanks so much in part to, large part to Sally and Don Rieger.
Oh, absolutely.
So that was a great morning, and as you said, very interesting to attend, and good conversation from a lot of
Yep.
people
It's great.
inside and outside of Simsbury. So
Well, it's a great resource for our town.
It is a great
And it's
resource.
a great, resource we can publicize and use
Absolutely.
for tourism and all sorts of endeavors.
and that
think so.
get into a lot of economic development discussion in a minute, but we'll talk about that because the river really is an important aspect to that.
Right.
And you've been a little bit busy yourself, day-long meetings, and
An exciting day today, yes.
Yeah.
So we just did the first round of interviews for what we hope to be the next, we hope someone in that poll potentially is the next finance director for the town of Simsbury. So
Great.
obviously can't really discuss the interviews themselves, but a good process. Obviously we've had that job posted for a number of months now. It's a challenging position to fill, as you know, there's only so many finance directors or assistant finance directors, out there with this experience. And then some folks want to make the jump from the private sector to the public sector, so that that's an interesting endeavor. So, but I think we had a good pool of candidates and good discussion. Members of the Board of Finance were there, members of the Board of Selectmen were there, members of town staff. We brought an outside individual in that is a finance director in a neighboring town to get that sort of perspective.
Great.
So making sure that we dot our I's and cross our T's here, and then ultimately the first selectman and the soon-to-be chairman of the Board of Finance get together and make that decision,
yeah.
and go forward from there.
Well, there's aspects of that job obviously related to the budget that are extremely important,
Oh, yes.
but also the planning and forecasting aspect of it, which is
Right.
critical.
Right.
So we're getting into my favorite season, and I'm sure our next segment will be all about the budget, so I won't go too far into it, but I love this time of year. We got the CAFR, we got the annual financial, so that was that's always exciting for me too.
Yeah.
To read through that and see where the town is from a financial standpoint. But we're in good hands right now. Even though we don't have a hired finance director, we have an acting finance director who is a key member of town staff, who's been doing a great job, who's really jumped into that role.
Yeah.
Obviously, Deb Sweeney in our our finance department is the backbone of that department, and she knows
She's been around for a long
She
time.
knows her stuff. So we're in good hands. That budget process has already started. The four of us plus the rest of the Board of Selectmen are looking forward to the first selectman making her budget recommendation to us.
Right.
And then I think Nancy later on will share some key dates, because there will be tons and tons and tons of opportunity for the public, for groups to come in and tell us what their priorities are, what they think is important.
Yeah.
And again, not to go too far into it, but just to give folks a preview, what we've kind of been talking about in our prior discussions and what's been in the paper and what we're all talking about is really going to be integral to this budget process in that what's going to happen with the Hartford. What are our friends down at the legislature going to do this year with things like the car tax and unfunded mandates that they always seem to find a way to pass back? You know, those are really important decisions that we're going to have to think about when we go through this budget process, because everybody wants us to preserve open space, and we're going to do that. And everybody wants us to provide great education, and the Board of Education is going to continue to do that. You know, and we're going to, you know, address senior needs, and we're going to pave roads, and we're going to do all the things that we promised to do. It's how do we do that? What are the priorities, and how does that, you know, how does that piece of pie get sliced up this year? In addition to some of these ancillary challenges that we can't control.
Right.
So, and I think that'll dovetail right nicely into what I'm sure you're particularly proud of from our Board of Selectmen meeting the other night is
Yes.
we voted on unanimously
Yes.
after an endorsement unanimously, I believe, from the Economic Development Commission to pass the task force
Right.
that is your idea and your process. So I'm sure you want
Yeah.
to tell us more about that.
Do I look that excited?
You
I'm
are.
sure.
I know you're excited.
Calm down.
And before you,
We're
really
very
you
excited
should be,
for you.
you should be commended for the idea.
Yes.
It's one that you campaigned on. It's
Yep.
one that you've shown a lot of passion for. You've shared with us, and it was I'm sure very exciting for you to not only see the Economic Development Commission see that wisdom, but also all of us on the Board of Selectmen as we
Yes.
passed it unanimously.
Yeah.
So
And it was a great discussion. I mean, and as you said, during the campaign process early on, and it goes back to just the years of my experience professionally, but volunteer-wise on the Economic Development Commission, seeing what we've been able to accomplish. And yet right now, there's a lot of opportunities and a lot of challenges, the Hartford you mentioned and such. So we got right to work after our December 2nd meeting. On the 9th, I proposed the formation of the task force and thought long and hard about the makeup of what that should be. And it was interesting, actually, during public audience at our last meeting, Sue Benarza got up and she said, geez, I hope this task force really includes people that have
Right.
skill sets outside of our boards and commissions, because those folks are good, but we do hear from them a lot.
Right.
It's important to have them engaged, but the real purpose behind forming this task force was to engage, and this will be a plug to the public right now. We are looking for folks that have development, commercial real estate backgrounds, as well as marketing backgrounds. We really do need to engage some people within that commission. It is designed to be, you know, although under town charter, formed as a temporary board, serving coterminous with the Board of Selectmen for the next 2 years. The goal behind it was to have it be a short-term, very effective board that walks away having implemented a good load of work, and then also sort of outlined for other folks where some of the missing pieces of the economic development puzzle are, and where some of those goals and responsibilities can fall.
now, before you go any
So-
further, you raised a great point and the opportunity here. Folks should contact either you, Nancy Haase, or Hiram Peck, right?
Correct.
If they have those skill sets and
Yes.
they want to get involved in
Yes.
this, so the time
So
would
right
be
now,
forward.
you'll see something on the bottom of the screen.
Right.
We'll have SCTV get that information out, but absolutely. And I know people are busy, but I think, and we've talked about this a number of times, our Volunteer Recognition
Right.
Day, where we had 130 plus people. There's great people in our community that volunteer all the
fortunate.
time. And certain things come up at certain times and skill sets are needed, and I think right now this is what we're looking for. We need it, and this
Yeah.
task force brought together will really be a big asset to the town. So we would be very appreciative of anyone with those skill sets to
Right.
step up.
And to that
So-
point, we did reappoint or newly appoint many volunteers the other night at our
Yes.
Board
Yes.
of Selectmen meeting. So,
A long
That was
list.
the
Yes,
long part
long
of the
list.
agenda.
but
Yeah.
it is.
But it's great.
It
It
is.
really is great to see all the people who came out to volunteer,
Right.
because it's so necessary.
Yep.
That, you know, all the work that the volunteers do is critical.
Right.
And
There's a lot of familiar faces,
Yep.
but some new faces on there. New individual on EDC.
Yes, Carolyn Bly.
Carolyn Bly, so
Herself has a marketing company. She's a local resident, has her own business. And so she actually is an economic development story in and of herself.
Right.
So it'll be great to have her on board and have that skill set complementing the board. And it was great to see so many people come in and talk to the nominating committee, volunteer, talk about their long list of community involvement,
Right.
and then
Right.
some of their professional skills that they'll bring.
We're just so fortunate that the people in this town that step forward and volunteer of their time. I mean, they get paid big bucks like we do.
Yeah.
And
Right.
it's just, it is humbling. I don't know a
is.
better
It really
way to
is.
put it,
Yeah.
and it's very nice to see.
It really
Yeah.
is,
Very
and
good
I
to
think
see.
if you could permit me one more plug, people often are confused. It's a relatively easy process for folks that are affiliated with the Democratic Party, the Republican Party, to come and volunteer. But the unaffiliates, the folks that don't find themselves a member of either party, can still absolutely serve on
yeah,
those boards
yes.
and commissions.
Absolutely.
They can call town hall, the town clerk, and the town clerk can get one of the parties, both of the parties, that person's name. They can contact the parties directly. We put up, I know on our team, a number of unaffiliates every year, and
Yes.
happy to put those folks up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
And I
there's
know
a
our
volunteer
counterparts.
initiative
There
link
is.
on the web, although,
Town-
is there on the website
There
still?
is, and I
Yes.
think that's going to be a pool of resources to get folks out there.
Yeah.
If-
But
Yeah.
in the interim, I just want to make sure that
Yeah.
folks understand that it doesn't matter if you have a D and R or
Right.
U after your name.
Come on down.
Come on down. We'll find a spot for you.
There's a place.
We're always happy to have
We
folks
need good
serve. So,
folks.
Yeah.
because that's always a confusing thing around this time of year.
Yeah.
We do get that question from time to time.
Yeah,
Well, I'm a
that's a good
non-affiliated voter, so I can't volunteer. Well, no, you definitely can.
Oh, yeah.
Come on down.
And in some boards, it's actually required
Yes.
to be an unaffiliated.
Yeah.
So,
Like the
Yeah.
ethics board, absolutely.
Ethics,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yep, really important. So.
Yeah. Yeah. So just segueing back a little bit into my task force that I want to talk about here. I shouldn't say my, it is the town's.
It
and
is.
it is an initiative that, as Sean mentioned, has been embraced by the Board of Selectmen, has been embraced by the EDC, and Hiram Peck has been great as well. I have to say that, you want to make sure you're going in the right direction with things. So bouncing ideas off of him, and really the goal behind this was to allow the town to achieve as much as they could at a reduced cost. And as we talk about the budget, and the Economic Development Commission was at this very same meeting reviewing their goals and reviewing their budget. We talked a little bit about that marketing study, that phase
Right.
1, and phase 2 was a $120,000 item, and we just knew that was going to be a big challenge, and
Right.
even trying to break it out over 2 years, it was still
Right.
going to be a pretty
Yeah.
tough, nut to crack. And so, the task force, their goal is to look at what was hoped to be accomplished by that study, and yet accomplish it at, as I said, at a
Right.
reduced cost for that.
And
So-
the end game here is what obviously the four of us have been talking about for a while now, which is driving top line, right?
Yes.
Because the Board of Selectmen for the last 5-6 years has been extremely responsible, I think, with budgeting, both during our time and prior to our time. You got to give all the boards credit for that. The challenge is you can only do that for so long in the municipal sector.
Catches up to you.
Costs
Yeah.
are rising, healthcare is rising, pensions are rising. And these are fixed costs that are negotiated on a contract basis every couple of years. So at some point something must go up, and I think this task force is really going to help us attack the revenue side of things,
Right.
which
right.
I think is a different focus than perhaps the Board of Selectmen of the past have had. So
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to the 6 of us doing that together, because it's
Right.
going to take all 6 of us.
It
It's
is.
not just the 4 of
Absolutely.
us or
Absolutely.
the
Yep.
2 other folks. It's going to take all 6
Yeah.
of us,
Yeah.
Exactly.
And Lisa Hebner and I are going to be
Yep.
working on that task force together.
which I think is great.
She's a liaison
Yep.
to the Economic Development Commissions. Through some of the great discussion that we had, it was suggested that this board should, or this task force should, report through the Economic Development
Yep.
Commission. And so that's exactly what's going to happen. And I
Right.
think it's appropriate. And when I was at the EDC meeting, it was and again they were discussing their goals. Jay DeVivo spoke a lot about an economic development coordinator. And I said, that's another task that the task force can accomplish, and that is evaluating what the job description of that role. In an ideal world, if we had that job in this town, what would they do? And then looking at the fact that, and I mentioned this, Main Street does a lot of that. Hiram takes on a little bit of that. So,
does.
Right.
so let's talk about what would it do. Let's figure out who's already doing some of those things, where the missing part is on that, assign that off to who it should be assigned to, and then make sure that you're able to achieve all those things. It's just going to be through
Right.
probably multiple resources that you're able to do that.
Right.
So,
I think the task force is well timed in that, somebody recently made a comment to me that there's so many folks kind of looking at this challenge, the economic development challenge. There's the EDC, obviously there's the Board of Selectmen, there's Main Street, there's the Chamber, there's a lot of folks, and it hasn't always been kind of the coordinating force, the place for everybody to kind of get together.
yeah.
And that seems so obvious when you say it, but you understand why it doesn't happen to some extent too. Everybody's got their charges and their worlds and their budgets and everything else. I think this task force is intending to, kind of get those folks in the same room as
Exactly.
a lot
Bring
of
it all together.
representatives.
Get
Yeah.
the tent,
And
get
the
everybody
residents.
in.
Right,
Exactly.
because there's going to be residents on this. So
Absolutely.
making sure that, to Ms. Bernard's point, which was right on, of getting some additional perspective.
Right.
Right.
Right. Well, and when you think about the marketing study, and maybe folks don't know what they were looking to have as deliverables on that, but people were saying, oh, we don't need a pocket folder and a brochure, and I'll put my marketing hat on now. You do and you don't, but the other concern of mine really was, I want to hear from the end user. Who are the people in the commercial development community? Who are our current businesses that exist right now? And some of the things that we're doing and we're producing, what is it going to say? How are we going to produce it? Where are we? So it's the what and the where, and we want to know, how do you get your information? And so we're not doing things, and you're testing your market, and you want to do it before you're out,
Right.
there with your product already. So. But there's a lot of stuff going on right now, and you mentioned, so there's the innovation initiative. There's also part of the funding for the Economic Development Commission is around a study of the Iron Horse Boulevard from the Performing Arts Center down to the river, and that is something I think back to at least 8 or 10 years ago when Nick Mason came to the Economic Development Commission talking about a boathouse.
Right.
We've been talking about it for a long time, and
It's commonly referred to as what, the Baker property?
the Baker
Right.
property is what
Right.
people refer to.
Right.
Yeah,
That's where it
they're
came from.
pretty common. But a connection for bike paths and running that will loop around in that area, bring us closer to the river, and really then be able to market who we really are as a destination. And you talk about live, work, community, live, work, and play, and
Right.
wanting to attract economic development. And people are really looking for a sense of place. And so that information, gleaning that and having that come to a realization,
Right.
I think will be fantastic.
I think this is all well timed, because I think this community is really at an interesting crossroads. Is we've really got some financial pressures. We want to continue to have all these beautiful things, and we will, because we're going to find a way to do this as
Right.
we have time and time again. So I think it's well timed, because it's going to position us to have the town potentially go first.
Yeah.
And to set the vision and to set the tone.
Well, we
Yeah,
have
and-
some demographic pressures now.
We've got
too, that are
demographics,
gonna be,
and frankly, I think we need to make Simsbury attractive to both older people, retired people,
Yep.
the younger families, and having spent a number of years with the crew team and on the water side of stuff,
Yeah, yeah.
hopefully above the water, but it's absolutely beautiful down there, and
It's great.
the Baker property is just phenomenal,
Yeah.
and trying to connect all that together, one of the challenges that a number of groups have with having a road race here is the actual requirement for the security and the police and
Yeah.
everything
Shut
else.
the roads down.
And now if we can get them off the roads, that goes
Yep.
away, and suddenly those dollars that they
That's
need
right.
to raise to pay for that can
Yeah.
go in other ways and do other things.
And those
Yeah.
kind of things are what brings people into this community. And then how many times have you been stopped by somebody that says, "Oh, I came to town for this, and I didn't want to leave,"
Yeah.
or "I
Right.
went to your businesses," or "I went to your
Yeah.
restaurants." I mean, I was down on Iron Horse this weekend walking Brody, and a little Frenchie, and he's a
For
crowd-
those of you at home that don't know,
He's
who
my
Richard
little
is.
little guy.
I'd show you a picture right now, but my phone's not with me.
Please.
We've seen
Then
enough
I'll
of
have to get
Brody.
mine out.
He's-
Then
he's-
we'll be.
No mas.
My wife and I don't have kids, so he's the baby. But it was great to see so many people down there, and it wasn't exactly warm on Saturday, right? Or
Yeah.
Sunday it was about
Sunday.
40, 45 degrees, but just tons and tons of people down there.
Yeah.
So thinking
Oh,
about
yeah.
what we could do to expand that, to make it more connected to the community,
Yeah.
And I really think it's exciting. You and I share the passion of crew. Just getting more people down there,
Right.
getting more people on that river. Finding different access points is definitely something we have to explore.
Oh, a few years ago, I had the opportunity to participate in crew camp, which I thought was great. It was something I had never done, never even thought about. And there was a group of women, and we got a boat to get enough. And
That's helpful.
all of us who had no, they had the boat. I mean, a boat of
It's a big
a
improvement.
number of people to fill a boat. That's what I meant. And all of us who had never done any rowing in our life, but it was a great experience. And for somebody who's never done it, never had
Yeah.
anything to do with it, it was one of the most fun things I've done with like
is.
a
We'll have
group
to
of
get down there.
people
I was gonna
to go
say.
down there
Yeah.
and take crew camp. For,
I know a guy. We could probably get the 4 of us out there.
Oh, it was awesome. And I think,
That'd be interesting.
to put that
be
out
scary.
there is,
We'll put
yeah.
that up. We'll put that up for our next program.
Yeah.
But to have that available to people to do on a regular basis, I think would be fabulous. We had so much fun.
I've told that story, and if you indulge me for 2 seconds, being on that river in the morning in this town when the sun rises in the summertime, there is not a more beautiful place on earth. Honestly,
awesome.
just rowing up to the bridge, up at, the Chart House Bridge, you come around the corner and you see the tower. It's absolutely spectacular.
Yeah.
I've had
Yes.
that privilege
I
many
used to
times.
go out at night and just
Yep.
go out and do my workout and then just drift downriver at sunset, and it is just
You get us talking about this for hours.
I guess so.
yeah, okay.
And I know we're close to wrapping up, and like I said, there's a lot of really neat things going
There's
on, and
great stuff.
I want to commend Rick Wagner for his innovation initiative,
Yes,
and
very much.
I know Linda Schofield's working on this river project, and I think Lou George is going to chair some of that out of the EDC with their work trying to pull together those plans. All of this stuff speaks to how the stories that we want to share about our town and how we market those things, and that's why all this is so important. And bringing the right people to the table in that regard is important as well. So we'll include, the PAC group in the discussions for the river. We'll include the schools in that discussion as well. They're being included in the initiative, on the innovation initiative. Chamber's going to be included with the marketing and the task force as well.
the
So,
library with their new 3D
Yeah.
printers. Oh my
Right.
God.
yeah. So a couple of quick things. We have just a minute here to wrap up, but I did want to share with people that at the Hartford subcommittee meeting we had the permit ombudsman come in and speak, and it was about getting a certified site location, the first in the state for the Hartford property. But what I walked away from that as well is these folks are on call all the time to help businesses. And so developments that are struggling through permitting process with DEEP, the DOT, I mentioned to Hiram, that's some information we should get out to the development community. And then also some information on the small business development group that was in talking to the Economic Development Commission. So we'll come back, we'll talk more about that
Right.
Absolutely.
next time. Task force will be in full
Can I
swing.
make a quick plug for
Hurry.
budget
I think
time?
we're,
Go out to the public meetings and participate.
Please
Yes.
do. And we'll get those dates to you.
Yes, actually, we'll scroll them on the screen, and we just want to thank SCTV again because we
Absolutely.
appreciate
Great
your
job.
work that we can share all this information with people. So thank you for watching.
Thank you very much.
Funding for Simsbury Community Television is provided in part by contributions from viewers like you. Thank you.